Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Along with Joey Clinkscales, Brian LeBel, I'm Harper LeBel. Joey, you're in a hotel. I'm in a different part of the world. Are you kidding me? Where Brian's the only one that's actually in the humble, uh, uh, the friendly confines. But you're in Las Vegas. Tell us a little bit about your trip.
Oh, it's been good. I came here on a business thing to talk to some people, and in turn, I went to the Raiders game this past weekend, which is the first time I'd actually been in a new stadium, which is
What do you think?
beautiful. I like it. It's a very nice building. You know what? I met a lot of people. I did some tailgating with those guys, and I've always been a fan of the Raiders fan. A lot of people they get a bad rap because they're so passionate about their team, but they deserve a really nice building, a really nice stadium, and they do have that.
Well, something about Oakland Alameda. I have a friend that went once, and the rise and the run with the stairs were so old and earthquakes and everything.
Right.
It was almost like a slope. But it was my home. It was the Raiders' home, and so you can't make fun of it. But now you've got a state of the art building. So is it different? When I played, it was something to have cup holders in your seat. I mean, like you were in a theater. Now you better have all the Wi-Fi and everything else that you need. What is missing from Arden Stadium there in Las Vegas? What is missing that they could the scoreboard have been bigger? Could there be more fireworks? What else do they need, or did they solve all those problems?
Well, it's really a nice building. It's a state-of-the-art building. Does it have the biggest scoreboards? No. It's got scoreboards like you might have at college, the big scoreboards in each corner. But it's a really nice building. They have they've modernized a lot of things. I mean, they have a area downstairs called the Win Club, which is really nice. People can stand down there and watch games, and they have paid seating and different things, and it turns into a club after the game. So they've kind of modernized what they do and how they make money, and like everybody else, it's a moneymaker. It's actually the biggest venue in Las Vegas. They've had Las Vegas have had shows and concerts forever, and if they've always been in venues probably no larger than 18,000 people. Now they have over 60,000 seat arena, which they're holding big concerts in. So.
Well, the concerts, collegiate finals, obviously in the calendar along the horizon, and the pro game. And we're going to talk about the NFL game. We want to do that. Brian, first and foremost, let's talk about week number 9 here in the National Football League. Anything of interest to you with the 4 teams that had the bye? You have Cleveland, you've got New York Jets, Philadelphia, and Tampa. Philly and Tampa are obviously the leaders, so to speak, in playoff teams that are in place right now to where they have a realistic shot of that. The other 2, Cleveland and New York, maybe not so much. But give me your perspective here. Well-needed rest for each of the 4 teams.
Yeah, well, the Eagles and the Bucks both have 2 big games coming up next week. The Bucks, I think they host the Patriots, who are flying high right now. They're playing as well as just about anybody record-wise. You can see that too. But Philly's going to be playing a Packers team that I think it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back after their game this week, because they didn't look very good offensively. I was one of the people that bought in. I was like, hey, this team, Packers team, don't be surprised you see them in February. Now I'm not so sure. I think more so for the Jets, it's just get healthy. I think Garrett Wilson will be back next week. And the Browns, when you got a really young offense like you do, any extra time off, any extra week to get ready and, kind of acclimate them more into the system and what you're trying to do is always a good thing.
Joey, the week off, we've talked about it before. Time to do your healing processes, your due diligence as a coach, coaching staff, all the things that are a part of that. It's no different for these 4 teams, but does anything stick out in particular for Tampa and Philadelphia for you?
No, I think Tampa had a opportunity to try to get healthy. I think they've been injured in a lot of different positions. So I think it was their opportunity to get healthy. And, we had the trade deadline coming up Tuesday, so they were able to look at that without, while they're practicing guys. And obviously Philly just made a deal for Jalen Phillips, the young pass rusher in Miami. So it seems like Miami is starting to unload talent. But
I was going to ask you about Tennessee. You live in Tennessee, so they're kind of fleecing a little bit too.
They're doing that as well.
Yeah.
Joey, do me a real quick favor and give me your perspective on what does that do for a new coaching staff or a general manager if a move is made to go, well, what the heck did you do, guys? You got rid of your best players, and all we got was a 6th rounder for them.
Well, I think it's really tough because a new coach is going in with the cupboards bare. Okay,
Yeah.
Some of the talent that the team has, they're unloading to get draft equity, which is depending on the situation you're in, can be a good thing. But when you have a rookie quarterback, when you need help on the offensive line, when you need help on the defensive line, you're giving up. You need help in the secondary. You don't have any playmakers, a wide receiver, and the talent you do have, you're trading it away for draft equity. Unless you're going to hit a home run with every pick in the draft, you're not gonna get a whole lot better in the short term. In turn, in free agency, guys like money, but they also want to win. So veteran guys in free agency will more likely go to a situation where they can win football games and get paid. They'll take a little less if they know they can make it up on the back end with wins and incentives. So nobody's going to really want to come to a place that starting over, especially with a really young quarterback, because they know it's a learning curve.
But Brian, if you are going to leave and you have a bunch of draft picks, you better be clearing some cap space as well, so that you can sign some of those guys. Is that what you're seeing as well with some of the strategy that you're looking at?
Yeah, but you also have to draft good players to replace them, right? Like I can trade my good players away for picks, but I still have to go and I have to put the right name on the note card.
Still need the safety.
Once April comes around. Yeah, and I think the problem is, for these teams that kind of stay perpetually bad is a lot of these kids that get near the end of their rookie deals and they don't really give a full chance, right? They're going through 2 different coaching staffs and they got to learn new schemes, and then you move on again, and it's just I think it's kind of detrimental to player development, and it's just. With some of these bad teams, it becomes a trend, and you hate to see that. But obviously, you got to have money put away. But if you're looking at free agency right now, if you're a guy who's, his contract's up at the end of the year, I don't think Tennessee's at the top of your list unless they're willing to pay more so than anyone else, right? And I'm just using Tennessee as an example, but the same for Vegas, the same for the Giants or the Jets. It's just, if the Patriots come calling, if the Bucks come calling, if the Packers come calling, you're probably going to end up, taking those calls and go with there first.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at some of the action from this week. We're going to take a Monday night approach. That's what we always do here. The show is designed at the end of the week, which is at the end of the Monday night game. There's only one tonight. That was Arizona going into Dallas. Brian, I'm going to start with you because Joey doesn't think that Arizona has what it takes. They sure look good today. They've got some issues. They got some serious problems. They've got an uphill battle in terms of the Western Division there in the NFC. But they look good tonight. So 27-17 was the final. They go to 3-5. Give me your perspective here on Arizona's big win here on Monday night.
Well, we kind of talked about them on the show in the past about just all of their games are so close, right? If you were to, I think I saw the graphic where they'd add 3 more wins or 4 more wins if you flip the 1-score games in their favor, because they're losing by 1 or 3 or 4 points every single Sunday, it seems. And, listen, for whatever reason, they came out and they adopted the blueprint that the Broncos had last week against this offense to slow the Cowboys came in, they were high flying. They're one of the highest, scoring offenses in the league. And, Arizona, who nobody was really giving a lot of credit to, partially because of their record, but then if you look at their uphill climb in the NFC West right now, the Niners are playing really, really well. The Rams are playing really well. The Seahawks look maybe like the best team on the week. And they kind of got lost in the shuffle. Primetime game, they came out, they went into Jerry's World. They played a really complete football game. Jacoby Brissett played really, really well. He showed that he's still a solid option as a backup quarterback. They still haven't figured their running game out. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride got involved, though. Kind of everything that they were trying to do in the beginning of the season before Kyler Murray got hurt. But, give the Cardinals a lot of credit. It's a big win on Monday night. It keeps them in the division, at least for now. And the Cowboys kind of need to do some soul searching because I think they fell to 3-5-1 after this one. It's not looking good for them.
Yeah, rough time. Stephen A. Smith was around, and you know how much he cares about Jerry and the organization. But Joey, I was kind of teasing earlier. not that there's anything wrong. We're on different perspectives. I think Arizona can be competitive. You think there's a long way to go. I understand. I'm not saying anything disrespectful to your opinion on that. But as with any team that goes 500, one week they look great, and another week they may not look like they even belong on the field. And I think Dallas and Arizona have both shown this in opposite turns here this week. As it turns out, Arizona looks like they had it. Brian mentioned defensively they were able to slow down Dallas's offense, but long story short, they get a big win on Monday night.
Right, and you have to first and foremost give Arizona credit because they did what it took to win the football game. That being said, which team hasn't looked good against the Cowboys? I mean, can you tell me that? I mean, their defense.
Packers kind of, yeah.
The Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense is sponsored by KO Pectate. I'll put it to you that way. I mean, they got more runs in them than any. But the only team that got more runs in them than the Cowboys on defense are the Bengals.
Yeah.
Man.
And they're sponsored by Imodium. So I mean, defensively, they're a bad football team. And again, everybody they play come in and they look pretty good against the Cowboys. So I can appreciate that Arizona's been in 5 games where they've lost by 4 points or less. Unfortunately, it's still a loss, and they go into Jerry's world just like the Giants did, and Russell Wilson throw for 1.5 million yards, and the next week he's on the bench. So I don't know how to take this win by Arizona other than I'm glad they got it, because technically, if you go in with any kind of offense, you should put pressure on Dallas. And what happens is in the games like these, you force Dallas offense to have to score almost every time they get the ball.
And to score more quickly too, right, Joey? To score quickly too. They got to it becomes a possession game, and then you get mistakes. You get a sack, or you may get an interception, something to really kind of mess it up.
Right, that's correct, without a doubt.
Okay, let me ask you one thing. You said something that was very interesting to me. Just looking about close losses. Mm-hmm. When I first got to Atlanta and I joined the Falcons, I was watching their baseball team. And the 1991 Atlanta Braves went from worst to first. They would lose a one-run game. In 91, they started winning one-run games. And then they won another one, 4-3. They're trailing by 2 in the 9th inning, and they end up winning it 5-4. Those are some things that any team at any level, in any sport, the Cardinals aren't there, in my opinion, based on what you've told me. They've got a long way to go. But when they start winning those close games, as opposed to being a 3-point loss or a 2-point or whatever, when you start winning those, now we're going to talk about a difference with the team. And the attitude, the locker room, the message from the coaches is completely different when you know you've got a chance to be in every ball game. Is there some truth in what I'm saying there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, football is a lot like life. You have to go through some adversity, and it's how you respond to that adversity, which builds the character in you. And guess what? They've lost a lot of close games, and unfortunately, they haven't figured out how to win those close games, because you have to figure out how to come back from those close games, because at the end of the day, it's a win-loss league. You don't get points for coming close. So fortunately for them tonight, they've found a way to get over the hump and finish the game. They haven't been able to finish in the past for whatever reason, but tonight they were able to grab a lead and hold on to it.
Yeah, and good for them. All right, so our Monday night game ends up with Arizona beating Dallas there in Jerry's World. Brian, let's go to Thursday night's game. The week opens with Baltimore and Miami. Ravens end up winning this one 28-6. And I think if anyone in Baltimore isn't absolutely ecstatic that Lamar is back, what do you have? 400 yards. He threw for 4 touchdowns. What a difference one guy can make to the team. I think they just became dangerous again. They've got a long way to go and a tremendously short amount of time to get to where they need to be. But I think they're better. Now, they still have some problems defensively as well, but at least a 28-6 win against Miami is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, well, the thing is, on the defensive side, they've looked much improved the last 2 weeks. I think that's the biggest thing if you're a Ravens fan to be excited about, because we knew Lamar was going to come back. It was a matter of time. It was a little longer than we had anticipated and hoped, but obviously this offense is really, really good when he's there. He's the MVP of the league and has been because, listen, it's just what he brings to the table. It's special, and it keeps the Ravens, even when the defense is bad, because remember the first couple weeks they were really, really bad, and they were still in games because of, in large part, Lamar Jackson. But it kind of opens up the run game more for Derrick Henry. He had a really good week. Zay Flowers had a great week. And it was one of those things on a Thursday night, right? The playbook shrinks, obviously, and with it being Lamar's first game back, you're going to limit what you're doing. But Mark Andrews played well. Not a ton of points. The offense wasn't crazy, but they were very, very efficient. Lamar had 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. They accomplished everything they needed to really in the first 3 quarters, and then they just kind of played keep away against the Dolphins team that, let's just be real, is not very good. But it's a game they needed to win to get back in the playoff hunt, the division hunt, and a lot of credit to the Ravens for kind of weathering the storm here the last month or so.
After a big win against Atlanta last week, Miami kind of lays an egg offensively, Joey. They only get 6 points against a team that we just mentioned, had some defensive struggles. Miami's not there yet. They're a less than 500 team. They're going to look good one week, and then they're not going to look good for probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, because really defensively, they're struggling, okay? And they aren't winning the line of scrimmage on offense or defense. So if the passing game is not in tune, they aren't running the ball well enough to be effective. So Miami's going to have a tough time winning games. They'll sneak one in every now and again because they'll get hot. They still have some talent on offense, but they really aren't good enough to be a competitive playoff type team at this point in the year. And, again, the trade deadline is Tuesday, and they're selling off assets right now. And
yeah,
and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Whomever the next coach is walking in the door is going to have to rebuild this team. I mean, this is not a short-term fix, unfortunately.
Yeah, we just talked about that a little while ago. So very interesting how that turns out. Hey, Brian, is it fair to say that if you want to get better, if you want to get healthy, if you want to look good, just play Atlanta?
For whatever reason, that seems to be the case. Unfortunately for Dolphins fans, we probably extended Mike McDaniel's tenure at least till the end of the year. But that's just how it is sometimes. I'll apologize for that to the Miami faithful. Yeah,
it's all your fault. All right, well, let's go on to the next game. By the way, let's talk about it. Here we are, the Atlanta Falcons. They missed an extra point. Brian, you had some statistics on this one. Full credit to New England. Full credit to, what is it now, 8 years since the Super Bowl hangover. Atlanta plays the Patriots again. I'm sure somebody said it during a pregame show here and there, but you have some very interesting stats. 44 teams have had the opportunity in the National Football League to really set an established record, and it fell yesterday.
Yeah, well, first, the Falcons haven't beat the Patriots since Dan Reeves and Pete Carroll were the head coach for each team, respectively. But Falcons had 6 sacks.
47, is that before Lincoln and Gettysburg?
It feels like it's been a while, but
right.
Falcons had 6 sacks, 2 turnovers. Michael Penix actually played a really clean game. They didn't turn the ball over themselves. He had 3 passing touchdowns. And the Falcons are the first team since 1964, the 45th team since 1964 to actually lose the game. Previous teams were 44-0 before that. I'll say this. I'll give a lot of credit to Drake May. Dude's been he's been a rock star. They love him in New England. He's been very, very good. His numbers are spectacular. His completion percentage is very, very high. He's throwing a phenomenal deep ball. He's sprinkling it to everybody, right? Diggs is making plays. But they get both the tight ends involved there. Henry, and then Austin Hooper is a guy who we know well. He's played well. Travion Henderson, with Ramondre Stevenson being out, he played a pretty decent game. Nothing great, but it's really his first start and the first time they said, hey, we're going to give you the lion's share of the workload. But this New England team's formidable. The Falcons were right there with them, but this is a very good Patriots team. And the way it's looking now, I mean, each and every week, they realistically, I know the Bills won on Sunday, but the Pats could be hosting a playoff game come January.
Joey, your perspective on that, you're nodding your head a little bit. And then my perspective is you've really taken on a completely different but yet similar approach to what you're used to with the Belichick Brady years, but you're doing it with a completely different lineup. You've got to be excited if you're a Patriots fan that, hey, we can believe in this team again.
Without question. I think the Patriots are a team that are dangerous because they don't know they're not supposed to be good right now. Okay, I think their level of confidence grew tremendously when they beat Buffalo in Buffalo. Yeah. From that point on, that team had a different kind of injury, a different kind of swag, a different kind of personality. They feel like they can go in any venue against anybody and win a football game. And again, they're a young football team who have clearly taken the personality of their head coach, and they come out and play hard. So it's exciting. It's actually exciting to watch the Patriots play because they're young and they're energetic in a lot of positions. And obviously they're very tough.
Yeah. And they're ahead of schedule. That's part of what I'm hearing you say as well. Yes. Maybe 2 or 3 years from now, they'd be competitive again, but they're doing it now. They're not waiting for tomorrow.
Correct. They don't know they're not supposed to be that good right now.
Yeah. I will say this: they're getting dangerously close to embracing that villain role again, right? That they had for 20 some odd years when Belichick and Brady were there, where they were the bad guys, everybody knew it. Yeah. So the break of them being bad was very short. So they seem to be back in the fold.
It wouldn't be hard for the average fan to hate the Patriots again, unless you are from the New England, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire area.
Well, right. Hey, Colts and Patriots right now, right, might be the two favorites in the AFC. So we're going back to what 2008 again?
Well, I don't know if anybody from Baltimore or New England, or excuse me, for Kansas City will ever say I'm going to root for them. No, never. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter who they're playing. We'll root against them. All right, next game we're going to look at. What a comeback game! Chicago, very impressive. And Joey, I'll start with you. Joe Flacco threw for 470 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. They had the lead all throughout the game, and they end up losing 47-42. Cincinnati falls to 3-6, and the Bears rise to 5-3. I think this is an example of a team that is starting to win some of those close games. Am I wrong? Chicago is starting to look impressive.
Yes, I want to give Chicago credit. The quarterback played really efficient. I mean, they did some really good things. I mean, he did some really good things for them. I mean, he didn't throw for a ton of yards, but guess what? He didn't throw any interceptions. He threw 3 touchdown passes. So he did a lot of good things. But on the flip side of that, because I'm going to have to go to the flip side of that. That's where I really should have started. When you have a 40-year-old quarterback with the offense that the Bengals have to throw for 470 yards, and, you know, I call the Cowboys defense, they were sponsored by KO Pectate.
Yeah.
And this is the Imodium defense because guess what? Teams do whatever they want to do against the Bengals. And, you know, you've heard comments coming out of that locker room right after the game. This is a real problem because they're in the same situation, probably worse than they were last year with Joe Burrow, who, you know, they wasted an MVP season on Joe Burrow because the defense was so bad and they never made the playoffs. Well, you know, I don't see a window for them to get in the playoffs right now because Joe may or may not come back. But at this point, they can't. They again, it's cow chips going on over there. I mean, they're so bad right now.
Let me ask you another. I'm going to flip and do another Imodium type of response. How bad is the Bengals defense in order to actually lose when you have a quarterback that throws for 4 touchdowns and 470 yards?
I mean,
historically bad.
Yeah, Bears.
Historically bad. I mean, they changed coordinators. Obviously, the coordinator they had last year apparently wasn't good enough. Who was actually on a lot of people's lists to be a head coach, and he goes to Indianapolis, and all of a sudden he's good again. So what does that tell you about the, you know? I want to say the players, but now I think it's the players and the scheme. I don't think the scheme, and I don't want to call it a college scheme because I don't know the defense coordinator well enough to say that he's not good enough to be a defense coordinator in pro football. That would be unfair to say. But what's not unfair to say is this defense is saying horrid is giving them way too much credit.
Yeah. All right. Well, porous is accurate. Brian, your thoughts here on this game. Chicago again, 5-3. It's a good place to be, especially when Minnesota, and we'll get to this in a moment, beats Detroit and makes it a little bit closer.
You got to feel for the Bengals, right? Because this is like the last 2 weeks. This team should have 2 more wins. They should have won last week, and they should have won this week. It was a wild game, but at some point, it's so bad that you're just wondering, like, how is it that they can't bring someone off a practice squad somewhere else, right? I got the Detroit Lions trotting out 5 backups on Monday Night Football against the Red Hot Bucks team, and they're shutting them down, right? So I think at a certain point, like Joey said, you're alluding to it. It's has to be coaching at that juncture, because you got a group of guys that you feel comfortable with going into the season, and almost everybody's healthy. The vast majority of guys on the defense are still healthy. It's just
that's because they aren't hitting anybody.
Yeah, it's just kind of head scratching, because I will say this: what Ben Johnson has done with his offense, Caleb Williams, the numbers aren't spectacular, but he looks a lot more comfortable. They're scheming and they're getting guys out of position. Like Caleb Williams caught a touchdown. So he had 2 catches for 22 yards. They're moving everything around. They're doing exactly what they did in Detroit, which is the whole reason they brought Ben Johnson in. The issue is the defensive side. Unfortunately, looks like Detroit at the end of the year last year, once everybody got hurt for them. But it's just, kudos to Joe Flacco. He's playing his butt off. He probably still isn't even fully comfortable in this scheme, and he threw for almost 500 yards. And that's another thing kind of against the Bears. But like we said, a win's a win, right? And you're happy with it, and they get to keep pace in the division, especially with Minnesota doing what they did in Detroit. But I don't want to say the season's over now for Cincinnati, because the offense is good enough to where they can play with anybody if it's a track meet. But it's things are starting to really, really look bleak as far as the Cincinnati Bengals are concerned.
Well, you're 8 games into the season. You're a Chicago Bear fan, and you look at the standings, and Detroit is 5-3 as well. You are tied with the Detroit Lions. Minnesota, I say they're going to steal one. It may not be the upset of the week, and Joey, you'll correct me on that. But 27-24, Minnesota, another one of those teams. I don't know what you're going to get. 1 week they look fantastic. 1 week they go, what are we doing out here? So, Joey, give us first and foremost your perspective here about Minnesota going into Detroit, coming away with the 3-point victory.
Amazing win for the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy looked pretty good. I wouldn't call him a savior at this point at the quarterback position, but he did some really good things. I mean, he had some plays that were just okay, but he made a couple plays, which is exactly the reason why they drafted him high, because he offers them a level of mobility that obviously Carson Wentz didn't have. But I will say this: the quarterback in Seattle right now,
Sam Darnold,
is looking pretty freaking good. So I just think they, the verdict is still out on JJ, because I think JJ is going to have some growing pains like he's had in the past leading up to this game, where he's got some really good games, some really bad games. But this was fortunately for them, it was a really good game, and he's got that number 18 there he can throw the ball to and spread it around. So it was really good. I was surprised that they won this game.
Joey, real quick before we go to Brian, is there a GM perspective, a medical perspective, a trainer's and a coach's perspective where you go, you know what, we may want to give JJ an extra week or 2 or an extra 10 days to heal up from that high ankle sprain? I want him 100%, not 95%. And
well, I think for the sake of the player, you don't want him limping around out there. Okay, so if he's not 100% and he doesn't show you that in practice, then you can't put him in the game, because he'll get injured. Okay, and guys know, the opponents know if he's hobbling around, he's got an ankle injury, somebody's going after that ankle. Yeah. So you want him to be 100%, not showing a weakness, a physical weakness, because if you show physical weakness, you can best believe the defense can see that, and they're going right after it. So you want him to be 100% out there.
Yeah. Completely. Brian, your perspective here. Minnesota, big win for them.
Well, I'll just add on to this, especially with the whole keeping McCarthy out thing. He missed all of last year, remember, because he had that knee injury in camp. So if this is your franchise guy, which, they believe he is, you got to kind of baby it a little bit, at least make sure, he has an opportunity. Because realistically, this is his rookie year, right? I mean, he sat on the bench. He got to, hold the clipboard and kind of absorb as much knowledge as he could. but there's a different level of understanding when you're actually out there doing it. And he hasn't been able to do it very often. He looked pretty good on Sunday. It wasn't great. The stats don't jump out at you, but I think he had 3 total touchdowns. They were really good in the red zone. They took advantage of they got a couple of short fields that they took advantage of. And, I will say this. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Flores and the Vikings defense because the Lions looked kind of lost on offense for the majority of that game. There's a lot of stuff that they couldn't really get Amon-Ra St. Brown going. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get going. Montgomery had a touchdown, but he also had a big fumble. Goff looked uncomfortable. They were getting after him all day. The offensive line for the Lions got beat up. So I'm going to give a lot of credit to the scheme and the coaching that went into getting ready for Detroit. Minnesota is a bit of revenge from last year, right? Because the Lions kind of knocked them out and said, "Hey, we're the 1 seed. Sorry, you guys," because they were right there, and they end up having to go play the Rams actually in Arizona because of the fires last year, and they kind of got exposed a little bit. But like what Joey said, Sam Darnold looks really good, and I'm kind of wondering, like, hey, maybe if Sam was still the quarterback on this team, maybe things would be a little different in Minnesota right now. But they're 4-4, and then with the Packers losing as well, they're right in the thick of things as far as the toughest division of football right now, the NFC North.
I just want to say one thing to add on to that. And I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. The NFL is a grown man's league. And what I mean by that is if you aren't physically built to last, as we'll talk about going on from here, it's tough to make it through a full season. And as good as JJ might be, and we'll talk about other guys, I mean, physically, he needs a lot of work to be ready to be a 18-game, 17-game starter and playoffs in this league. It's great to be able to run around. It's great to be able to throw on the move. But, you better upgrade your ability to be a timing passer and get the ball in your hands, because if you don't, those hits, they take a toll on thin guys in the National Football League.
Do we give him like a thicker quarterback jacket? Maybe we double wrap the ankles, some knee braces, right? Do we, don't put him out there in bubble wrap, but
hey, his bone structure is not going to change, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So, in all seriousness, he's missed 22 games, and he's halfway into his second year.
Year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting number.
Is his name JJ McCarthy or Joel Embiid?
Well, yeah.
Hey, at least Embiid got the MVP beforehand, right? He played very, very well before that knee gave out on him.
All right, real quick, either one of you, real quick, is Detroit in trouble, or is this just 1 week? They didn't hit on all cylinders. Offensive line, defense, everything kind of failed, and we still only lost by 3 points. Is this I'm not worried as a Detroit fan, or is this a portion of the we knew it was going to start getting bad when this happened, when Minnesota came into our building and beat us? Either one of you.
Well, I don't want to say they're in trouble. I would say I would look at it a more positive way, because I think there's more parity in the league now than there's ever been. I think the season has bared that out. So I think if you don't walk into a game and play your best, you can be beat by anybody.
Fair enough. Brian, your thought is Detroit, are they worried right now, or is this just a one-off, hey, we lost and we still got a lot, we got half the season to go?
Well, I will say this. I agree 100% with what Joey said, but then on the flip side of it, it's a division game at home, which you want to win those games, right? Those are the games you want to take. And then you're going up against a team that's coming off a really ugly loss the week before, and they're playing a quarterback who's really only in his third true start. So from that perspective, I kind of feel bad. We're still right at the top, especially the North is wide open now. We can talk about the Packers a little bit later with what happened to them on Sunday. But I mean, realistically, at this juncture, any one of these 4 teams can take the division, and I wouldn't be too shocked. And for the Vikings to go into Detroit and win a division game to stay in the hunt, that's give them a lot of credit. Like I said, Flores did a great job. The Vikings were ready for him. The Lions can make adjustments. They'll be better next time. But yeah, I mean, it's good and bad. It just depends on how you look at it.
Well, I thought this was an upset of the week, but I was corrected. And this is Joey's upset of the week.
Yeah.
Carolina going into Green Bay. Carolina is now 5-4, gentlemen. I'd be kind of excited if I'm a Panther fan, because this is another example of a team that just like New England. Are you kidding me? We're at 5-4 right now. There's no way. We're ahead of schedule. Green Bay falls to 5-2-1. They lose 16-13 at home. Joey, we'll start with you. Why is this the upset of the week?
Because the Panthers went into Green Bay. The running back ran for 125, 130 yards. They dominated the line of scrimmage. And Love, as much as I think he has elite talent, he does not play at an elite level a lot of the time.
Consistently.
Without question, consistently. I mean, one game he'll throw for a ton of yards, and the next game he'll play like he played this past week. And they have enough, and they're young on offense, and I think they may be the youngest team in football. So you're going to get some of this from a very young football team. However, Love was sitting around 3 years watching Aaron Rodgers play, and then he was able to play, and then he got a new contract, and so he's probably the most veteran player on that offense. And right now he's probably, and again, the quarterbacks get the most blame and the most praise, but right now he's playing with the least amount of consistency. Every now and again you have the receivers that play inconsistent, dropping balls and what have you, and that's still a problem. But he's been around long enough to think you would get a more consistent level of play from him.
Brian, Joey said something that just hit the nail on the head for me. If I'm a Carolina Panther or a fan of the Carolina Panthers, we may not be able to do much at this point in time, but we can run the football. And they did it again, moving the offensive line. If there's one thing that they're consistent doing it, they may not be able to do a whole heck of a lot, but they can run the football.
Yeah, no, they did that, and they played defense exceptionally well. A lot of bending and not breaking. The kicking game for the Packers was kind of spotty at best on Sunday, but I'm gonna throw some stats at you. So if your team is, your guy at the helm, your quarterback, if he goes 11-20 for 102 yards and an interception, no touchdowns on the day, you think that's a win for most teams?
No.
Yeah, well, it was for the Panthers on Sunday. Bryce Young was 11-20 for 102 yards and a pick, and the Panthers end up winning a road game in Lambeau Field. Go figure, right? But this defense they get after you. Their front seven is nasty. They got a good group in the secondary. They kept Josh Jacobs, who's been very reliable for the Packers, really since he's been there. And I mean, he's been one of the most consistent backs in the league since he came in. What was it, about 5 years ago with the Raiders? But dude's been lights out, and the Panthers just stifled him. They didn't have an answer. They couldn't move the ball. As soon as they got on the plus side of the field, they just the Packers, the offense just kind of fell apart. Love looked uncomfortable. Guys looked like they weren't on the same page. And I'll take it a step further, what you guys are talking about, Jordan Love. It doesn't look like he and his receivers have a good rapport yet, right? I know they have a lot of guys that are young, and Christian Watson just came back from an injury, but for whatever reason, there hasn't been a good connection. And, his best receiving target has been Tucker Kraft, and he tore his ACL on Sunday. So a huge part of their offense, he's their leading receiver, and he's no longer there. So the Packers are, maybe this is a good thing for them, maybe in disguise, as far as it's a humbling win. Or a humbling loss, coming to, a moment when maybe you need it to kind of figure things out and get going, because this is a team that has playoff and perhaps Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, again, 5-2-1 for Green Bay, 5-4 for Carolina. Big win and way ahead of schedule, in my opinion, for Carolina to be at this point in the season have a winning record. Congratulations to them. Next game we're going to look at, Chargers at home against Tennessee. This game was in Tennessee. Please forgive me. 27-20. Joey, was this a escape with a 7-point win against a really bad team, or was this where Tennessee ends up fighting for their lives? And I don't care what we do, we're gonna keep this one close. We want to do a little bit of both. Tell me your opinion here on San Diego taking on Tennessee.
Well, I think the Tennessee team, they play hard. Okay, they're undermanned at a lot of positions, but they do play hard. They have not given up on the season, and they're young at a lot of positions. And that's a team that's also at the point where they're selling assets to try to get draft picks, which draft capital, because again they fired their head coach a couple of weeks ago, and they're in that situation. However, the quarterback is still young and developing, and they play hard, and they led most of this game. Believe it or not. and the Chargers came back toward the end and made some plays and won the game. And this should have been a situation where the Chargers went in and just, put their knee on the throat and just took advantage of it. But they weren't able to do that for whatever reason, and then they lost. The Chargers lost their best offensive lineman for the year. So it'll be interesting where they go from here. But the Titans will keep fighting. They'll battle. They just don't have enough talent. They don't have enough playmakers. They need a lot of help at a lot of different positions.
Yeah. But still, San Diego 6-3, Brian, with all the problems that they've had. And again, as Joey said, offensive line is a play. They're going to be calling up some guys that may not be at that same level. But 6-3 is a good place to be after 9 games.
Yeah, they had 2 stellar tackles. They had a guy on each side, and both of them just, it's unfortunate for them. They're getting hurt. And Alt was already banged up earlier in the year. He just came back. And then, I was watching the game. It was just an unfortunate play where you got a guy coming in screaming off the other edge, just misses Herbert, and he slips and he falls. He goes right into his ankle. And, unfortunately for him, it's an injury and he's done for the year. But Chargers had a couple miscues early. They had a pick 6, and then they, a punt return touchdown. And before you blink, the Titans had 14 points. So, credit to them. A lot of the young players for the Titans are playing real hard. They're still playing good football. Shamir DK is a guy who I really like. He's been playing really, really well in Calvin Ridley's absence. But, it's just when your offensive line isn't as good and your defensive line is decent, but you guys got guys out and then you're trading them, whatever. It's just, across the board, they're just not talented enough, I think, to compete with a lot of these teams. I will say this. I love the fight, right? They did everything they could to try to steal this football game. And, I think greener pastures are on the horizon for the Titans. But, if you're the Chargers, the road win that you probably would have been concerned if you didn't get. It was a little closer than you would have liked, but Justin Herbert looked really, really well. The receivers look good again. It's just going to be an issue of, can we keep our quarterback upright with both of our, day one tackles out the rest of the way.
Well, Tennessee falls to 1-8. The Chargers, as we said, they're 6-3. Another team that's 6-3, that's the San Francisco 49ers. I know it's tough to be a West Coast team going to the East Coast, but if I'm the 49ers going into the Meadowlands, Joey, I'm okay with it because I'm going against a team that has a massive amount of injuries. They've got a young quarterback, and 34-24 was the final. Giants fall to 2-7. But San Francisco gets themselves a nice road win. Anytime you win on the road, even if it's against a team that only has 2 wins, it's okay, isn't it? It's all right to win on the road.
Oh, absolutely. And guess what? Mac Jones played a pretty effective game. No turnovers, 2 touchdown passes. McCaffrey rushes for over 100 yards. So they have a formula that's coming together pretty good, that if they can continue to do that, and again, win the line of scrimmage, especially offensively, and the Giants have a really good defensive line. But if they can win the line of scrimmage and then get the ball down the field, because the Niners really don't have a real playmaker right now on the outside at wide receiver, but they do have guys that are tough, competitive, can catch the ball, will block their tail off. So they really do have a pretty good football team, despite Purdy being out, and Kittle has he's been okay, but I think he had 1 catch in the game, maybe 2. So he hasn't been super effective lately, after coming back from injury. But they've done some good things, and again, that coach finds a way to get those guys motivated, no matter who's playing.
Shanahan and Lynch seem to be able to do more with duct tape and baling wire and drywall screws to put something together. Joey, real quick before I go to Brian, that's one of the things. Can you imagine Kyle Shanahan okay, this guy's going to get hurt. This guy's not going to be there. I'm going to lose this guy for the league. We're going to go with a rookie here, and we're still 6-3. We're right there in the fight.
Absolutely. That tells you the kind of toughness and the kind of players that they go after, because those guys have to be pretty smart to come in on a week's notice or 2 weeks notice and play or come up from the practice squad and be ready to play and play pretty effectively with the veterans that they have, because this is not a super young team. They have veterans at a lot of spots, but those young guys have to come along pretty quickly, and they found a way to get those guys ready to play.
Brian, real quick, I'm a Giants fan. I mean, it's just sit and wait. I got a bunch of young guys, a bunch of guys that are hurt as well. But I got to give my quarterback some time. He's got to go through this, but we're going to be better in the very near future. You still like Jackson and the way he's playing?
Yeah, no, he had a good game. He had 3 total touchdowns. I think he led the team in rushing as well. They're asking him to do a lot right now, and he's delivering. The talent isn't there, right? You lose Scattaboo, you lose Malik Neighbors. It's really difficult. Now the Niners, the team on the other side, unfortunately they're the blueprint, right, of losing your top guys and your players to just be able to plug in and figure something out and find a way to win, like you said, with duct tape, whatever else you need. But I just don't think interior wise, I think the Niners are very, very good. Shanahan, give credit to him. He's been doing this in his entire tenure. Really, since the Niners have been to the Super Bowl, they've just been, it's injury after injury after injury, and they just find a way to figure it out. And it's, it really is amazing. We talk about it every week, but it's really amazing that they can just find guys off the street and they're pulling practice squad guys in and they're producing, right? And it give a lot of credit to that coaching staff because they find a way to give their players, regardless of who it is, the best opportunity to go out there on Sunday and succeed. And, fortunately for them, their game plan has been, let's get the ball to Christian McCaffrey as much as possible. Let's control the line of scrimmage. Let's get up early like they did. And, let's play from ahead. And I'm going to give a lot of credit. I know Joey mentioned it, but Mac Jones has been spectacular for this football team. And up until Saturday night, it looked like Brock Purdy was going to start. So Mac's just kind of been back and forth about, will I play, won't I play? But just his preparedness and what he'd been through in New England and to get to this point, you got to give him his props. But I really like the Rams, and the Seahawks look really, really good. But it's impossible to count the Niners out because they keep winning games.
Yeah, they are an amazing organization, the way they continue to put things together, even though you take so much away from them. But they're 6-3 after that 34-24 win that they have. Next game we want to look at, Joey, I'm going to ask you first. We're ready to crown Indianapolis last week as good as they were, but you said it earlier. This is a big man's league, and you better bring it every week. You got to do it consistently. And Pittsburgh pulls one out, in my opinion. I don't think it's an upset to win at home like that, but they certainly played so much better than they need to. 27-20 is the final there. Daniel Jones, 50 attempts, the highest for this week, 342 yards, a touchdown. Give me your perspective here on this. Am I worried if I'm a Colts fan for one loss?
I don't know if you're worried, but the blueprint for the Colts winning is not 50 pass attempts. That's never going to be the blueprint for them winning because physically,
not with that offensive line, right?
Right. They have a really good offensive line, and to be quite honest with you, defensively, the Steelers took it to them early, caused turnovers, and really, if the Steelers were the kind of team that they want to be, this would not have been a close game because the number of turnovers that they caused during the game. So it's a good win for the Steelers because the team they beat was probably playing the best football. But as I said last week, I really go back to despite them playing good football, who have they really beaten that we would consider a top-tier team? And when I say that, I mean the Colts. I don't think the Colts have had two really good wins that we would say, oh, these are really quality football teams who may be playoff-level teams.
Okay.
They've won some close games. And the Steelers needed a big win like this. This is a big win for the Steelers because the Steelers don't really have that great win on their resume to this point, and this would be categorized as that.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, on what Joey said, give me your thoughts here. Pittsburgh, it's not a must-win, but it was an important win. There's a difference, and get them straight. Winning can cure just about everything. Doesn't cure cancer, but it can sure straighten your team out in terms of the direction that it's going.
Yeah, I'll say this, but neither team ran the ball well. I think both defenses came in and said, we're going to disrupt the run game, right? Jonathan Taylor, who, we were talking about, he's looking like LaDainian Tomlinson out there the last month or so. And it wasn't really there for them today. They said, we're going to make Daniel Jones beat us. And, they probably showed him some things he hadn't seen all season. He made some mistakes. But, on the flip side, if you're the Steelers, they had 38 rushing yards, right? Didn't have a ton as far as offensive production. The defense played well, and they kept them in this game. But the offense, I'm still kind of waiting for Pittsburgh to put them both together, right? Like we've had weeks where the defense has been very, very good, and then you had weeks where they've been so-so. And you had weeks where the offense is, hey, we're showing sparks, and it looks really good, and then the defense maybe doesn't follow suit. But It's a win against a football team that was 7-1. They had the best record in the NFL. It was a game they kind of needed. Like Joey said, it's kind of a statement win, right? It's a staple win where you can build off of this and say, hey, listen, we believe we can play with anybody because we can play with the Colts, and we beat them. And, a lot of momentum going forward. I think if you're the Colts, you kind of throw this game tape out. You say, listen, that's not who we are. Let's go back to who we were the first 2 months of the season, and let's try to build off that. Now, they got an overseas game coming up this Sunday, but, this team still has a ton of talent. I'm a big fan of the Colts. And, as long as Daniel Jones doesn't turn the football over 5 times, they only lost by 7 points. I think they had 6 total turnovers, and they lose by 7. And, if I can look at that and say, hey, guys, we basically handed them the game, and we were still right in it till the end. So just kind of build off of that and come back fresh and just, flush this and move on to next week.
Yeah, the Colts are competitive, and that 7-point loss in Pittsburgh, there's nothing embarrassing about that. But they didn't play well. 6 turnovers, all of that comes into effect, and I appreciate you saying that. Denver now is 7-2. Houston falls to 5-3, 18-15 with no time left on the clock. Brian, I'm going to start with you, and I'm just going to say Will Lutz.
He's been money for them. He has been absolutely money. And listen, as long as Sean Payton is the coach in the NFL, Will Lutz is going to be employed, right? Because he's even going back to the early New Orleans days. He's been spectacular. I think the clip of him sending him out to win the game, would you say, hey, just looks right at him. He says, hey, just kick it right through. Just kick it right through. We're good. And he did exactly that. And I don't know if there's a better fourth quarter team in football than the Denver Broncos, right? They seem to play either down to the competition, or they're just not fully awake, or whatever it is, or maybe they have to go get some snack or something at halftime and they don't fully digest it till the end of the third quarter. But this team wakes up when they play their best football in the fourth quarter. They did it against the Giants. They did it this week against the Texans. This was a very sloppy game up until really the Broncos kind of took control of the last 15 minutes. But, Bo Nix is still playing some really good football. I think Sean Payton, we talked about a little bit last week. Maybe he's getting some Coach of the Year consideration, because what he's been able to do with this roster has been pretty impressive. On the flip side, for the Texans, I think if C.J. Stroud doesn't get knocked out of this game, I think you got a good chance to win it. I think they've had some injuries. It's just kind of been unfortunate. I love this Texans defense. They're very, very good, and they keep them in games every single week. It's just the offense hasn't been healthy enough and, together enough and consistent enough to kind of pick them up when they need to.
Joey, you've got 2 teams on opposite ends of a close game. One says, it doesn't matter, we're going to win it, and they do. Another one goes, gosh, we don't know how we're going to be able to keep this going, and they end up losing by 3. Give me your thoughts here on this one. Denver at 7-2 again. Houston at 3-5. Excuse me.
Denver did just enough to win the football game. I mean, Bo Nix didn't have his best game. He was, I want to say his completion percentage was under 50%, but again, he can do things with his legs and get you in position. I think they ran the ball decently. And on the flip side, again, you hate to see CJ go out with a concussion, but that happens. It's part of football. And Davis came in, and obviously it's not the same. But more importantly, they weren't able to really run the ball consistently when they needed to. Anytime you have a new quarterback coming in, a running game is his friend, and they weren't able to do that. And ultimately, as Denver has done on several occasions this year, they do just enough to win the football game. And again,
they've been amazing at it. Absolutely amazing.
I agree with Sean Payton really deserving some consideration for Coach of the Year.
Absolutely. Well, 2 teams that are kind of struggling, but in opposite ways, end up going to overtime with one another. Jacksonville ends up being 5-3 at the end of this overtime game. They get a 30-29 win. 2-6 Raiders were at home. Joey, you were there. Give us a little perspective and insight about what you saw, the vibe with the team here in Vegas. Different from Oakland, but that you got to play somewhere. It doesn't seem like the black hole, but it's their home for now. So talk.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a great environment. The black hole is not what it used to be, and I don't think, given the way that the stadium is made, I don't think that black hole winning edge that they used to have will be there again. However, from the football game, I thought the Jaguars really struggled doing some things. They aren't a real crisp football team. They did just enough to win. The quarterback played decently, probably just good enough to win. But the Raiders had chances in this game. They really did. And the Raiders, I'm going to say this again, they are not a great football team. However, the tight end they have, and I'm going to go on record saying this, is the best tight end in the National Football League right now. He came back from injury and looked like he never left, and he's explosive. He's a playmaker. He can make plays down the field. He can make plays after the catch. He can catch one-handed. And on the overtime play, which they should have at least looked at him.
He's wide open. They had two guys wide open. Yeah,
he had two guys wide, and actually he should have looked at that side of the field and then hit the guy in the slot because he was wide open and he went to the other side of the field, which is we can talk about the way the quarterback is playing another time.
He had a good week. Gino had a good week this week, right? It was
he played well, but he missed a lot of opportunities. Now he capitalized on some opportunities, but even in those plays that he capitalized on, he could have had better plays had he looked another direction. But all that being said, it was really entertaining football game. Jacksonville's field goal kicker hit a 68-yard kick, which would have gone 72, 73 yards. It was an amazing. It was right down the freaking middle. He's got a big leg. He really has a huge leg. But I would not say Jacksonville is a top 10 football team in our league, watching them play. I think we know what the Raiders are, but Jacksonville is certainly not a top 10 team in our league.
Brian, your perspective here on this one. Close game, obviously, the only one that goes to overtime this week, but 1 point difference, obviously just enough to win.
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, I don't think they're, like Joey said, they're not in the upper echelon yet. And I think the biggest issue is there are some weeks they look really, really good, but it's just the consistency from Trevor Lawrence hasn't been there yet. And for how long he's been in the league, it's kind of becoming concerning, right? He had different coaches and, they had issues with the last staff they had in town and everything, but they ran the ball very, very well. They played decently. Listen, when the ball wasn't going to Brock Bowers, the defense looked good. It's just every single time it went to Brock Bowers, it's just with how good he is. Like Joey said, it's really, really difficult to stop a guy who's just that talented. And it's not a pretty win. It's a win nonetheless. It's against a bad football team on the road, so you'll give him credit for that. But this is one of those teams where the Jaguars are interesting to me because I don't think they're anywhere near playing their best football yet. And they got to win against the Chiefs, and they're right there in the thick of things as far as the playoff picture is concerned. So I'm interested to see what happens there. I think the Raiders with, Ginty, who's kind of coming into his own, the offensive line play is not even remotely there yet, but Bowers is great on the outside. And anytime those guys are, if they're suiting up, you got a chance to win. And I think the Raiders feel that way. It's just unfortunate that, the talent the rest of the way is just not there. But I'm interested to see what the Jaguars can do. I think they can make the playoffs. I just think Trevor Lawrence is going to have to figure it out at some point.
Well, they're 5-3. It's a good spot to be if you're not a very good football team, as opposed to being 3-5 or 2-6, whatever it is. Next game we're going to look at is the Rams at home at SoFi. They win 34-10. It's kind of convincingly. Stafford throws for 281 yards. He has a 4-touchdown game. Give me your thoughts here on this one.
Well, Matt Stafford is a big-time player. To me, he's playing I don't want to say as well as he ever played, but he's playing at a very high level for a guy that's 38 years old or so, 37 years old. He's playing well. Everybody tried to write him off early because of the back injury, and if this is what back injury looks like, then I can tell you about 20 other quarterbacks that need a back injury because I want to say kid, but this guy is playing great. And even when Puka went out with that look like shoulder, which could be problematic, he just kept going. Because he knows the offense like the back of his hand. He still has mobility to get outside the pocket and throw, and they can run the ball. Williams had over 100 yards rushing. They do a lot of good things. They're going to be a tough out. And, I went on the record early and said that they were going to win the division. And they may, but it's not going to be easy because that team in the Northeast is playing some excellent football. And you can never count out the 49ers. So, but the Rams, The Rams are winning games they're supposed to win, where Green Bay and teams like that aren't winning games they're supposed to. The Rams are winning the games they're supposed to win.
Brian, if I'm New Orleans, stuff goes in, new quarterback. Why did they wait so long to do this, to remove Rattler? Is there any reason in particular that you see why they would wait till there's, eighth game of the year before they give another guy a shot?
I mean, Rattler wasn't playing terrible ball. I mean, he was decent. It's just a lot of it is like you gotta play the cards you're dealt. And this team is just not very good. They have no run game. They can't run the ball in any capacity. They're playing from behind. He's dropping back to pass, and the offensive line is iffy at best. He's taking hits. He's doing the best of what he can. He's just hoping Chris Olave stays healthy for the whole game. But other than Juwan Johnson and Olave, this offense doesn't really have much of anything. It doesn't. And I think they're at the point now where they realize, hey, we're not going to make the playoffs, right? The season's kind of over for us. They picked this kid, like 36th overall? He was a very highly touted prospect for them. And you don't take a guy at 36 unless you believe he can come in and help you win football games. And I think it was, maybe you say, hey, we're going to give you a couple months to kind of watch and learn and kind of figure it out and say, hey, let's see if you can kind of do this on your own. But, on the flip side, we might have to start putting Matthew Stafford in that MVP conversation. He's got 9 touchdowns his last 2 weeks. One of those games, full game, was out without Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams is another guy that a lot of people kind of wrote off. He's playing some really good football. McVay just everything he does seems to work. And the Rams, whatever they draw up on offense right now is working. They're rolling. They really could have won this game. They could have scored 50 points this game if they wanted to, but they kind of just controlled the clock at the end and took their foot off the gas. And, New Orleans is a bad football team. But like Joey said, it's a game they should have won. They won it handily, convincingly. And the NFC West it's looking like an absolute dogfight right now as well. Like I said, the NFC North was earlier.
Well, at least this week, I think Stafford gets my vote for a guy that I don't care who you bring in to be my wide receiver, my running back, my tight end. We're going to win. I'm going to get him the ball, and we're going to do something that is special. He's on a mission, and as long as that offensive line protects him, I think they've got a chance to be as good as they possibly can be, and that means getting to the Super Bowl, not by luck. They've had some tough issues. They had to they lose the game in Philadelphia, very close. I didn't think it would be, but they made the Eagles look a little uneasy last year there in the snow. But regardless, Rams are 6-2. Yeah. Another team that's 6-2 will be the Buffalo Bills at home. We've seen this for a decade, Joey. These two teams playing against each other at the highest level. Normally, we're seeing it in the playoff, and those are the games we remember. 28-21 is the final. 5-4, Kansas City. They're starting to play. They're showing signs of being a very, very good football team and maybe Super Bowl ready, but they had a tough time there in Orchard Park.
Well, this is what I'll say about this game. If I'm Kansas City, I'm not super concerned from the standpoint of Buffalo in the regular season is 5-1 against Kansas City in the regular season. Okay.
Yeah.
And we know what they are in the playoffs. They're over in the playoffs. Yep. So in Kansas City, they were missing some offense. Their best, really one of their best offensive line. The rookie has been out for 3 or 4 weeks for personal reasons, and so he'll be back this Sunday because he's back. So Mahomes was running for his life. If you watch this game, he was under duress. It was like the Super Bowl with the Eagles. He was running for his life, and this is the first game he was in his career that he was under a 50% completion percentage. But that being said, Buffalo did enough to win, and again, they weren't spectacular. Josh had his highest completion percentage of his career, I think 88%. But he had 1 touchdown pass. He rushed for 2 touchdowns, obviously, the shorter runs. But Buffalo is a team that is prepared. They built their team in order to try to beat Kansas City. Now, they've done it effectively in the regular season. They just haven't done it effectively during the playoffs. And do I think they'll do it this year in the playoffs? If the game were today and it's a playoff game and everybody had all their requisite pieces, I would take Kansas City. And I don't care if it's in Kansas City or Buffalo. I would take Kansas City.
Interesting. Well, a lot there, Brian. Digest that and let me know whether or not you think that there's much to celebrate in Buffalo, knowing full well that when the playoffs come around, we usually get a different result.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is, if you're Kansas City, it's just we got to wake up before it's too late, right? I think that's kind of what it is. Rashee Rice with the suspension hurts you. Isaiah Pacheco, who's kind of been their bell cow at running back, he didn't play in this game. You kind of see there was a dip in production as far as their ability to run the ball. Give Buffalo a lot of credit. It's a home game. It's a big game for them. Any time they see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, right, their eyes get wide. And they know it's hey, we're gonna have to play our best football today to win. I think they did. Mahomes, like Joey said, it was ugly football for the Chiefs for most of it. I think it was 15 to 34. It wasn't clean in any capacity. He took a couple hits too, where I was like, hey, this is something you don't normally see, right? They do a very good job protecting number 15 there in Kansas City, but Josh was about as good as he could have been on the other side, right? 23 to 26. I think he was 270 yards. He had a touchdown, but they got their own little version of it's not really the tush push going on at the 1 yard line, but I don't know if they failed yet as far as just every single time they run the QB sneak, Josh Allen's being held by one of his offensive linemen. I don't know if that's legal. You know what I mean? I don't think that, Buffalo wants anybody to kind of, look into the rules of it, but it seems to be working. And to be able to get a yard, a lot of teams can't be able to score down at the goal line every single time, which Buffalo seemingly does is pretty impressive. And I will say this, the win Buffalo had last week against Carolina looks really, really good too. Based on how Carolina played this week. So they put together two very impressive wins, and they're doing everything they can in Buffalo right now to keep pace with New England right now, who's at the top of the division. And if you're Kansas City, you're kind of running out of real estate to lose some of these games because the Broncos are 7-2, and they're just for whatever reason they find ways to win football games each and every Sunday.
Yeah, well, the 6-2 Bills end up with an important win for them, a team that you need to beat, especially during the regular season, but let's do it in the postseason. 5-4 is where Kansas City falls. And we'll look at our last game, which is 6-2 Seattle. We talk about that NFC West. Joy, I'll start with you. Sam Darnold, 330 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. Are we going to celebrate Seattle, or are we going to ask questions about whether or not Washington has a different type of mojo than they did at this point last year?
Well, I think both things can be true. I think we have to certainly start with Seattle because I think offensively they're really good. I think Sam Darnold should be in the MVP conversation. I think they can run the ball. They're physical. I mean, they're making plays with Darnold inside the pocket, outside the pocket, rolling, throwing passes. And defensively, they're a really good football team. Their defensive line is really good, anchored by Leonard Williams. They're really good. Now, Washington, on the other hand, have been devastated by a ton of injuries. I mean, we'll get into the quarterback soon, but they haven't been healthy for most of this season so far. And again, it's gotten late early for those guys in Washington. I don't think especially now, they're in a position to come back from where they are. I mean, they would be lucky at this point to get 5 wins on the year, and I really don't see that happening, especially with Daniels probably being out for the remainder of the season because defensively they haven't played great, and their offense is sporadic at best. So they're going to struggle, but all the credit in this game goes to Seattle because Seattle went on the road across country into D.C. And really jumped on those guys early and often.
Brian, I played in Seattle. It was near the end of the wave, which was originated there. They've had the 12th man. They've had some other really interesting things that have gone on from a city that loves its football. They respect it. I think there's a reason for them to start celebrating again and just having a little bit of a confidence level of we've got a really good team and we might end up getting where we need to be, and that is obviously going to the promised land, the Super Bowl.
Well, for what you said, playing there, they were wearing the jerseys you were wearing too, the throwbacks, which I think those are their best unis. I will say this, if they keep playing like that, they might have to wear those uniforms every single week, right? With whatever's working, you roll with it. But, I mean, they, on the outside specifically, the wide receiver position, the tight end position, whatever you want to call it, the passing game, Washington was outmatched. They couldn't handle the whole first half. It was just pitch and catch. I think Sam Darnold was 14 for his first 14. He had close to 300 yards.
He was
Yeah,
16 for
yeah.
16.
He had close to 300 yards, and it was either I think it was three touchdowns at the half. They had a play where they bring Jackson Smith and Jigba in motion. He ran some sort of, it's not a decoy route, but you call it a decoy route, right? And Torrey Horton slips to the corner of the end zone, and he's standing there. He catches the ball on the goal line. There's no one within 10 yards of him. Like, it really was what McDonald's been able to do there, and just drawing up plays, and really for anybody who's out there wide. And the running game, I will say this, I like their running back group, but it just hasn't been there yet this season, which kind of makes the passing game that much more impressive, just because they don't really have the play action or whatever to go off of. But, you guys know how I feel about the Ohio State wide receivers, the guys that are coached by Brian Hartline. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, if you were to ask, Chris Olave played, around him, and Marvin Harrison Jr. played around him, and just Emeka Buka, another guy who's having a great rookie season, they all played around him, and they'll tell you that Smith and Jigba was, as far as his footwork, as far as everything he does, he might have been the best receiver that they ever saw come through there. And I think that's a really high compliment, and he shows it every week. He looks like the best receiver in the league, but I think some of that has to do with scheme. I think some of that has to do with Sam Darnold, who looks really, really good, and has for now a year and a half consistently in different schemes with different players and just making it work. You're happy for him, but if you're Washington, you're kind of reeling right now. You're just kind of looking for answers. And the first one is just kind of like, hey, why is my franchise quarterback, who's coming off an injury and has missed most of the season, still in the game with, 5 minutes and some change left when we're down 31 points, and it's just, you get an ugly injury and he's probably going to miss the rest of the season. And, we've talked about it before. This team was really a good quarter or two away from potentially playing in the Super Bowl. And now they're looking like the season's, over. They only got 3 wins here at the halfway point.
Yeah, very interesting. Last year, we had 3 teams from the NFC North with Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay all go to the playoffs. At the halfway point right here, Joey, for next year, for this year, for the remainder of this year, the following 7-8 games that everybody has, including the bye, you've got to – you don't know football if you're thinking, okay, the front runners right now are going to be Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. You may have 3 teams out of the West that end up qualifying for the playoffs.
Without question. Seattle, again, they're playing great football. So I think if they continue the path they're on, that they're definitely en route to the playoffs, along with the Rams and probably the Niners, because right now they find ways to win that other teams don't. So they have the heart of a champion, and they're going to keep fighting. But a little bit about Darnold. I just want to delve into that briefly. He's not in Minnesota right now because basically he was a 15-2 starter in Minnesota, and he had one bad game, and it led them to go in another direction, which they wanted to go to anyway. However, that bad game he had in the playoffs, the offensive line was horrible. He made some bad decisions. However, he's the one that is going somewhere, and what it tells you is he probably wasn't the problem. You look at the way he's playing now in this system, he's playing probably even better in Seattle than he played in Minnesota right now.
Yeah. Joey, I'll say this too. Both the quarterbacks that had to take his place in Minnesota, they're getting hit a lot. They're both banged up. They both missed time. Wentz is out for the year, and McCarthy's already missed a handful of games. So they didn't get the – maybe him not being brought back, maybe that playoff game was the best thing for him. Maybe it was. Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that sums it up for this week. Joey, final thoughts before we head out and wait for week 10, when we'll be here a week from now.
Well, this past week was a week of some upsets. I think it tells you the parity we have in the National Football League right now. I think from a league perspective, the league's in a good place because they would like to see, if they could, they would love everybody to be 8-7 or 7-8 because it's good for business in every market. So I think the parity in the league is there. So we'll continue to be a lot of upsets from week to week when teams don't bring their A game because it's professionals and these guys don't quit.
Yeah, real quick before we go, Brian, let's just look at the leaders in the AFC East. It's New England and Buffalo in that order. In the North, it's Pittsburgh at 5-3. Everybody else is catching up, including the Ravens. They're 3-5. They got a ways to go. 7-2 with the Colts right now. They're ahead. Jacksonville is 5-3. In the West, it's pretty interesting. 7-2, 6-3, 5-4 are the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs, respectively. NFC coming off a bye, 6-2. Philadelphia is the leader there in the East. Excuse me, in the NFC East. Pardon me. In the North, it's Green Bay at 5-2, 5-2-1, and Detroit 5-3. 5-3 with the Chicago Bears. That's the interesting part for me, is that the Bears are still in the hunt right now. 6-2 in the South for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carolina at 5-4. That's another surprise. Who would have thunk it just at the beginning of the season, 7 or 8 weeks ago when the season starts? 6-2, 6-2, 6-3 are the Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers, respectively. Brian, your thoughts here before we go?
A lot of really good football in the NFC West and the NFC North. AFC East as well. Very top heavy, right? The two top teams are playing potentially like a team that could be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. But we got some big games coming up this week against some teams that are kind of pushing for potentially a first-round bye and home field advantage in the playoffs. So a couple of games that really are going to help kind of decide that. Once we get to the back half of the season, which is already here, which is crazy to think about. We're already in the second half of the season. But teams are starting to separate from the pack. A couple weeks from now, we're going to be talking about playoff positioning and, who's going to host what game and which teams are trying to sneak in. So it'll be here before we know it. And a lot of really good football we played, has been played so far. We got a lot of really good football still left ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone, we appreciate you tuning in here. It's been week 9 of the National Football League season, and you can watch this wrap-up show that we have here on 100 Yards of Football after each and every Monday night game. So we appreciate you being a part of the show. For Joey Clinkscales, for Brian LeBel, we appreciate you being a loyal watcher and listener. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. So long.